One of the most memorable and iconic scenes from J.R.R. Tolkien's Fellowship of the Ring is Gandalf's confrontation with Durin's Bane, the Balrog of Morgoth that dwelled within the depths of the mighty dwarven kingdom of Khazad-Dum, commonly known as Moria. With Amazon's acquisition of the rights to and subsequent production of a new show set in the Second Age of Tolkien's Middle-earth, I'd like to cover the Second Age lore and history behind this once great dwarven kingdom, as well as how this ancient realm could play into the story of Amazon's new series. Khazad-Dum, also known as Moria or the Dwarven, was established by Durin in ancient times at the end of the Ages of the Stars. The long reign of Khazad-Dum's first king was a golden age for the kingdom. This age came to be remembered as Durin's Day, which also applied to the Dwarvish New Year. Durin lived on into the First Age and altogether had a lifespan which measured about 10 times that of the average dwarf. This earned him the name Durin the Deathless. During his reign, Khazad-Dum grew continuously in size and population until it became the greatest of all the mansions of the dwarves. The universally prized metal mithril was discovered in the mines, which contributed to its great wealth. This precious metal was the cause of Moria's continued prosperity for many years after Durin's passing. During the First Age, the Longbeards of Moria maintained contact with all the other 6 dwarven clans, and after the arrival of early men to Rovanion, they began trading with them to the great benefit and prosperity of both peoples. The kingdom of Khazad-Dum was not involved in the War of Wrath, which took place in the First Age and saw the destruction of much of Beleriand at the hand of Morgoth and his forces. As such, during this time, Moria gained a respite from orc attacks. After the War of Wrath, in early parts of the Second Age, Khazad-Dum saw an influx of dwarven refugees from Belagost and Narog-art. These were great cities of dwarves in the Blue Mountains that had been brought to ruin in the final battle against Morgoth at the end of the First Age. This influx resulted in the enrichment of the culture and skills of all those who resided in the Dwarven. This brought about a renaissance for Khazad-Dum and elevated its prosperity to an all-time high. During this time, the Orcs also grew in strength and numbers, so much so that they outnumbered the Dwarves of Moria. In response, these dwarves formed an alliance with men, and with the combination of Khazad-Dum's heavy infantry and the horsed archers provided by men, they were able to successfully defeat the Orcs. The Longbeards consequently came to dominate the northern and central region of the Misty Mountains, as well as the lands to the east. All of the Dwarven was originally illuminated by shining crystal lamps, with the halls at the highest level being lit with windows and shafts carved out of the sides of the mountains. Moria's levels are described as having black, polished walls that were smooth as glass. Each level was made up of arched passages, chambers, and pillared halls. Far below the depths of the kingdom of Khazad-Dum were prehistoric tunnels that existed in perpetual darkness, which had been gnawed out by ancient creatures called Nameless Things that had lived there since the earliest days of Arda. Certainly one of the most recognizable and important features of the Dwarven was the slender bridge of stone without curb or rail, known as Durin's Bridge. This defensive structure spanned a 50-foot wide chasm of unmeasured depth, which allowed enemy forces to cross it, but only in single file. Another famous structure found in Moria was the Endless Stair, which ran from the lowest dungeon to the highest peak, where it ended at Durin's Tower, found at the tip of Xiraxagal, which is the same place where Gandalf would eventually defeat Durin's Bane in the Third Age. Around the year 700 of the Second Age, the Noldorin realm of Eregion was established to the west of Khazad-Dum. Their elven craftsmen desired to use the dwarves' precious mithril in their jewel crafting, and friendly relations between the Longbeards and the elves of Eregion ensued. Thereafter, many of the elves became involved in the development and beautification of Khazad-Dum's mansions. Their alliance also resulted in a massive western subterranean expansion of the Dwarven Kingdom, which terminated at the Doors of Durin, also known as the West Gate. Narvi, a great dwarven craftsman, formed a friendship with the elf lord Celebrimbor, the master artificer of Eregion. Together, they crafted the Doors of Durin that guarded the west gate of the Dwarven Kingdom. This gate stood on the borders of a region, the doors of which remained open, allowing unrestricted trade between the elves and the dwarves. Through this trade, the elves were able to use mithril in the crafting of an alloy called Aethildin, or star moon. Aethildin was visible only by starlight or moonlight, and was used to decorate gateways and portals. The doors of Durin were also decorated with Aethildin designs. Mithril was also used in crafting one of the rings of power, specifically Galadriel's ring, Nenya, also known as the Ring of Adamant or the Ring of Water. The first of the dwarven rings that were created was given to King Durin III. After the elves discovered that Sauron the Dark Lord had made the One Ring, which granted him control of all the others, they hid the rings of power. This triggered the beginning of the War of the Elves and Sauron. In his quest to attain the hidden rings of power, Sauron's forces laid siege to Eriador and descended on a region. It was at this time that a host of elven forces led by Elrond were sent by Gil-galad in an attempt to protect a region from Sauron's army. However, Elrond's host found itself too weak and unable to hold off the invading forces. Elrond and his host would have been overwhelmed, but Sauron's forces were then attacked from the rear by the Dwarves of Khazad-Dum, along with the elves of Lorinend, which were led by Amroth. This intervention enabled many elves, including Elrond and Celeborn, to escape a region's destruction. Sauron's forces turned to confront the Dwarven alliance, driving them back and forcing Durin's warriors to retreat through the west gate of Moria. They then shut the doors of Durin, which Sauron could not breach. This sealed off the mighty kingdom of Khazad-Dum from the outside world. Frustrated by the dwarves' assault and subsequent escape, Sauron commanded his orcs to assault the dwarves wherever they could be found. Soon thereafter came the first sacking of the revered Mount Gundabad, followed by a long occupation of the surrounding area by orcs. The seclusion of the kingdom of Khazad-Dum lasted until the dwarves came out to fight alongside the last alliance of elves and men, which resulted in Sauron's defeat. At the conclusion of that war, the dwarves of Moria returned home, and the Second Age came to a close. Unfortunately, in Amazon's new series, it's unlikely that we'll get to see the famous Balrog of Moria. It wasn't until almost 2,000 years into the Third Age when the dwarves of Khazad-Dum had dug deep enough to unleash the terror, which ended up slaying King Durin VI, subsequently earning it the name Durin's Bane. There are, however, many events of the Second Age involving the dwarves of Khazad-Dum, which would be exciting to see play out. With the confirmation that the characters of Sauron, Elrond, and Galadriel are set to have roles in this upcoming series, there is some speculation that this show is likely to revolve around the creation of the Rings of Power and Sauron's war against the elves to attain them. If this is the case, the Dwarves of Moria will surely be heavily involved, as their assault on Sauron's forces was pivotal in allowing Elrond and Galadriel's husband Celeborn to escape their certain defeat. During the Second Age, Galadriel also passes through Khazad-Dum to journey to Lorien before this war takes place. This would present an excellent opportunity to see the inside of the mighty Dwarven Kingdom in all its glory, and will give us a chance to revisit some of the iconic structures that many were first introduced to in the Fellowship of the Ring. Well, let me know what you'd like to see in Amazon's attempt to adapt Tolkien's Middle-earth. Would you prefer seeing original stories explored, or would you rather see a depiction of the more well-known events of the Second Age? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and be sure to subscribe for more Lord of the Rings and other sci-fi and fantasy content. Thank you all so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.